Hello everyone. You are watching a snippet of Countdown June 26, 2023. Today is Monday. See the full version on Patreon. And thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. And now to the main topic. I warned a long time ago that all this Prigozhin's popularity would one day go sideways to the cave. Flirting with the homegrown ISIS could not go unnoticed. And on Friday, the soul rushed to heaven. The conflict between the cook and the Tuvan shaman developed over several months. Until July 1, Prigogine could not wait, and he decided to act. Several interests converged at one point. Firstly, the time has come to announce the names of those who are to blame for the failure of the military operation, to sledgehammer them, and under the banner of a leader nothing more than to designate new goals. Secondly, Prigozhin also had to urgently win back his PMC business, which was under threat. And thirdly, some of the elites wanted to express their dissatisfaction with the state of affairs with the prospect of the collapse of the system. The mutiny of the prisoners at the stock depot was an excellent reason for the implementation of these plans, and at the same time a test of the leader, for lice. Checked. It turned out that Putin, indeed, is no longer the same. He was seriously frightened and fled to St. Petersburg, where he was overtaken with claims from the lads by Yuri Kovalchuk. By the way, it was the Kovalchuks and Bortnikov's longtime opponent, FSB Deputy Director Korolev, who took care of Prigozhin. Only with his go-ahead on Saturday morning in prisons could unrest begin. Because it is the FSB that conducts special work with prisoners, not even the Federal Penitentiary Service. So if the score for the Wagner Orchestra was painted by Prigozhin, then it was by no means he who conducted the performers. Immediately after negotiations with Kovalchuk, it was decided to involve Diamond, and later Lukashenko. This tuber has its own interest, to adopt the experience of creating its own PMC from Prigozhin, so as not to depend on the security forces, who can buckle up. And here we will have our own collective farm army, competently trained and well equipped. This one will be able to protect its owner and even kick the one who sticks his head in. Meanwhile, Prigozhin's scam was also on the menu. He understood that the campaign against Moscow could not be successful. Even if all the outcasts of the capital join him and go along with his ghoul to the Kremlin, there will be a lot of minced meat, but the army of the FSO officers will fight back. And then he can't take his head off. Therefore, he willingly agreed to Putin's promise to dismiss Shoigu and Gerasimov and appoint Diamond and Surovikin, respectively, in their places. But this, most likely, will remain an unfulfilled promise, because Putin cannot let himself be pushed through. Especially some kind of cook there, even with a sledgehammer. The leader fled to St. Petersburg anyway, sowing doubts among the bandit elite about his reinforced concreteness. It turns out that the king is not iron, and not even plywood. And some kind of cardboard, which can be pierced with a conductor's baton. As a result, Shoigu once again ostentatiously rides around the control points, and Prigozhin was erased from the information field with an eraser. From the very departure from Rostov, there was neither a rumor nor a spirit about the bald rebel. Either in Belarus he spuds a bulb, or he escaped to Africa, or he was grabbed. They will remember him for a couple more days, and then the swamp will be dragged on by the duckweed of everyday life and the former cemetery grace will triumph on the surface. Only without the cook, swollen on meat assaults and media grubs. By the way, Shoigu and Gerasimov are now very necessary for Putin in their positions, because the front, after such a rear nerve, can crumble. So far, no obvious failures have been noticed, but this is so far. And when the armed forces of Ukraine begin to enter the Crimea, and the invaders waver, then it will be necessary to appoint those responsible for the coming defeat. And they already exist, their names are spinning in the languages of deep dwellers, and the cave community has already salivated, anticipating the process of devouring brats along with footcloths. And the cleanup of yesterday's rebels is already taking place in the cave. Watch the full story on Patreon. Become our patrons now and look further in this program. According to the Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine Anna Malya, the area of the liberated territories has been increased by 17 square kilometers, and in general, since the start of the offensive, the liberated area in the south is 130 square kilometers. A peace conference on Ukraine was held in Denmark in conditions of strict secrecy. It is official peace talks with the participation of these countries may take place as early as July. According to Russian media and news agencies, the criminal case on organizing an armed rebellion against Prigozhin has not been closed and continues to be investigated by the Investigation Department of the FSB of Russia. Putin threw the cook as a contemptible servant. The world was again surprised by the unpredictability of the cave. Several myths and even state secrets have been debunked. The political system has shown its fragility, and the military power has cracked, said Josep Borrell, head of European diplomacy. It is alarming to see that Russia as a nuclear power could enter a phase of political instability. The editor-in-chief and owner of the independent newspaper, Konstantin Remchukov, did not rule out that Putin would not be able to participate in the so-called elections in Russia. People close to Putin may now try to persuade him not to go to the polls, Remchukov believes. After all, after the events of recent days, Putin has completely lost the status of the guarantor of the security and wealth of the elites. And that is all. See the full version of this program on the Patreon resource. And thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. Hugs to all. See you on Thursday. Glory to Ukraine.